Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our seminar. I'm very sorry that I can't be joining you personally, but I want to send you a little message from Oxford in the UK, which gives you a little bit of a sense of the background of our study, how it came about, what its intentions and aims were, and a little bit about its history. So I'm Jo, the director of Young Lives. I've actually only been involved in the study since 2005, but it was set up initially in 2001 as an idea of the Department for International Development in the UK, which is the British government's main funding body for international development assistance. They were really keen to understand what the implications were, what the progress was of the Millennium Development Goals. And so the idea was to have some research which would look at the impact and the implications of the Millennium Development Goals for children living in low and middle income countries. So the first step was to decide on which countries would be involved in the study. And the idea was to have one country from each of the major developing regions of the world. There were initially 24 countries on the list, and they whittled it down to 4 countries: Ethiopia, India, Peru, and Vietnam. And the idea behind it was to have countries with very diverse circumstances. So Ethiopia at the time was one of the world's poorest countries. Vietnam and India were also low income, and Peru was already a middle income country. So it was about really seeing what the performance of policies and programs were for children in very diverse kinds of settings. The study involves 12,000 children, their households and communities, and these children, it's an equal number of boys and girls, but they come from very different socioeconomic groups and also from very different locations. So there's a good mix of rural, urban children and children from ethnic minority, ethnic and language minority and religious minority communities, and also from majority communities. And the idea behind the diversity was to trace the very different trajectories that children might follow over time, coming from these different environments and different communities. The study has so far done 5 rounds of surveys, roughly every 2 to 3 years over the life course of the children. And also, we've done quite a lot of qualitative research as well to try and understand some of the reasons behind the trends that we pick up in the statistical analysis that we do from the survey research. There are actually 2 age groups of children in the study, one of which was born around about the time of the millennium, and then an older group that was born roughly 7 years earlier. So we can also compare what it was like for the younger ones when they reached the same ages as the older ones have reached, whether things have improved or whether maybe they've deteriorated over time. Now, today, the launch of Tracing the Consequences of Childhood Poverty, that's what this seminar is all about. This book is really summarizing the headlines from the study, and you'll be learning about those headlines from our co-authors today in the seminar. And the idea was to really bring together research from across something like 800 publications, which is quite a challenging thing to do. But we really wanted to convey the big messages, the big learning, and what the really important implications are for policy. Tracing the Consequences is an important way of rounding off the research that's now taken place across 15 years. But Young Lives hopes and intends to continue the research, and we're currently fundraising for a 6th data round, which should take place next year, assuming that we do get the funding. What we really want to do is to take these children through their early middle childhood and adolescent years into youth and young adulthood, so that we can really get a sense of the outcomes of these young people as they've entered the labour market, as they've become involved in intimate relationships. Some are married, some are cohabiting, and some are parents. And if we're lucky enough, we'd actually like to get funding to follow the children of Young Lives children. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the seminar. Goodbye.